Another thing you can do, which is what we're coming on to right now, if someone says no, it's usually because, or not usually, sometimes it can be because there's no accountability, there's no consequence. So if you can make someone accountable, the chances are they'll take the request more seriously. Does that make sense? Now, if you're working with an organization like, in the customer service desk or so on, you may need to do a kind of a double whammy. Find out if they will take responsibility, which a lot of people aren't willing to do, or get someone that has responsibility, in other words, pass the buck. But you want to make sure that they pass the buck to someone where the buck actually stops, so they don't just keep sending you around in a circle. If you end up back with the same person, then you basically have to lock them in, saying, look, you've already passed the buck once, you can't do that. Either you send me to someone who's actually authorized to do this, or, well, you're going to be responsible for this, essentially is the message you're giving out. Does that make sense to you guys? So especially when you're working with big organizations, I mean, there's a nice way of phrasing it. I think it's, what's his name? I forgot his name now. Kevin Hogan has a nice way of phrasing this, which I kind of like, which is asking something along the lines of, do you have the authority to do X? Because it's kind of a challenge to the self-importance, right? If they say no, well then their implication is that someone out there does have it. So, okay, great. Well, who does? Please go and get them. Now they are personally responsible for bringing to you the very person that can fix your problem. So they'll start searching for someone better rather than someone just to pass the buck to, right? If they say yes, what do they just agree to? Well, they can decide on your issue. They can't say anymore, oh, I'm sorry, company policy says no. I thought you had the authority, right? So if you don't have the authority, who has the authority to make an exception here or something like that? Do you see where we're going with this? Everyone clear on that? So, do you want to play with that one and we'll add a few more? All right, guys. Just spend a minute or so finding someone, get some resistance, and then ask them, do you have the authority to do this? Let me just check before we go any further. Do you have the authority to get this result? No, I don't. Oh, great. Well, could you please put me in touch with someone who can? Or could you bring the manager so I can speak to someone who can? If they say yes, you go, great. What I need is this. They've already accepted the role that they're the kind of person that can make an exception and so on. Do you see where we're going with this? There's a kind of a strange little consistency and commitment thing going on. They've already told you that they can make the exception, which makes it more likely that they will. Do you see how that works? Go ahead, quick question. He's asking, would it turbocharge it more to ask, do you have the experience and authority? Sure, it might be. I don't know. It depends on the context, perhaps, right?
I've heard him use that phrase. I just forget there's another word in addition to authority. I just can't remember what it is.
I don't know. I can't help you with that. But play with it. I mean, it's the principle that's most important than anything else, right? Incidentally, if they accept the authority to be able to help you, even if they don't necessarily want to help you, there's a nice little bit of research that talks about people who put little stickers in their houses, like, civically minded messages. If you come back the next week and say, would you put this great big cardboard poster on your front lawn to stop people speeding, they're more likely to say yes, because mentally they've already entered the role of a civically minded individual. Does that make sense? It's a percentage you're playing here, of course, but you're increasing your percentage constantly, and that's what we were looking for. Easy? Yes? Off you go. Did you enjoy that, guys? I want to give you one quick caveat in terms of using the authority, the way it's been phrased like that. It's also culturally dependent. In other words, if you go to somewhere like Asia, in Asia there's a lot of face value to be taken care of. People don't want to be embarrassed in public. If you ask someone in Asia, do you have the authority to do this, you might be challenging their self-worth, if you like, in public. That's a very bad thing to do. The whole system might shut down then in order to protect that individual. Does that make sense? So be careful about the context you're using this in so that the phrasing doesn't accidentally trigger a cultural backlash in that sense. Make sense? All right. The next two are interesting as well. Go ahead. So the question is, can you in that context turn around so that you need to save face and they help recruit them to help you save face? You can do it, but again, you can do it eloquently so that they want to, because if there's a risk to them, they won't do it. They'll say, oh, so sorry, right? And because they don't want to take the risk of losing face along the ways, right?